Hey there, friends and fellow nature journalers. You are tuning into the Nature Journal Show. I am Marley, and I am here to empower you with tips, tricks, and techniques so that you can get more out of your experience nature journaling. Today, I am going to take you on a nature journaling adventure with me, and I will give you 13 tips and a specific strategy that you can use in your nature journaling. Coming right up.
What I want to do in the next couple months is cover in these videos all of the major nature journaling strategies for a field outing. The strategy I'm going to talk about today is just the curiosity wander. So a curiosity wander is when you go out with your nature journaling supplies to a location and you follow your curiosity and nature journal whatever comes up along the way. And it's a really good strategy to use when you might have a little bit less energy, or you don't want to try something extra challenging, or you're just going to a new location, or maybe you're nature journaling with kids. This is kind of naturally the way that kids move through the environment. And my natural tendency, which I'm aware of, is to kind of just wander around for a long time before pulling out my journal. Whoa, look at that. Monkey face eel.
One common problem when trying to do a curiosity wander is that you might have trouble pulling out your journal and getting started because you keep wanting to look at different things. So make a decision before you go to the location about what you're going to focus on. One thing I do sometimes is I say, I'm just going to take out my journal and start nature journaling as soon as I get out of the car. Another option would be to have what I call a target taxon. So a plant or animal or family or group of organisms that you want to focus on. It could be seaweeds for this location. And then as soon as you see seaweeds, you're going to start journaling. Another would be to have a target location. So once I get to this particular cove, I will start nature journaling there.
Of course, I'm going to start with my metadata here to give you the information about where I am, what time it is, and some weather conditions. You can see my metadata is pretty simple. I'm going to sit for a little bit and do a landscapeito and get this session started with that. A little landscape is a really good way to kind of capture the feeling of the place. My sketches are pretty basic right now, and one thing that I think is really important to remember in the beginning is that you're gonna have some sacrificial pancakes. So when you first start off drawing for the day, your drawings aren't gonna be as good because you need to warm up. It's just like when you make pancakes and the first couple that come out aren't really good, but those need to come out before you can make the good ones. So one thing that's really common is that we have these hidden expectations, and when we start off the day, especially if we're at a location we're really interested in, we have these hidden expectations about what the drawing is going to look like, or we have an attachment to what the final drawing is going to look like. So right now I'm playing a mental game and trying to really make sure that I focus on getting marks down and making a lot of drawings, and I'm not focusing too much on worrying about the quality of those drawings, just so that I can get warmed up and not worry about it too much. So now that I've got these landscapes, they look pretty basic right now, not great, sort of value studies, which is good practice for me, and using ink. I am gonna go and add some color that's sort of a way to make it, probably they'll look better with the color, and then I'm gonna start walking around more. So at this point, I have these couple of landscapitos and some quick sketches of birds in flight. It was a little bit rough at first. I didn't like the way the drawings were looking. Color sometimes is a crutch, and just by adding a little bit of blue and gray onto there, you suddenly get a more compelling drawing than a lot more than for how much effort you put into it. So at this point in a nature journaling excursion, if I were doing a curiosity wander, I would probably want to move right now and make sure that the next thing I do is like a bunch of little sketches or just something to get some more momentum going, because it would be really easy to slow down and rest on my laurels after I feel a little bit self-satisfied with a few drawings that worked out when I added the color to them. So I started walking over here and I'm looking at this background behind me, and I am immediately wanting to go into doing more landscapitos because that area looks so cool. Now this is the point where sticking with a plan or adapting to the circumstances comes into play, and I think it's important to find a balance between those two things. And so I'm gonna stick to the plan, and if I'm doing a curiosity wander, the thing that I want to do now is probably go to more of a micro scale, since I've been focusing on the big picture of the landscape. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the camera away and I'm going to walk around looking at stuff and see what draws my attention. There's lots of invertebrates here, so it would be cool to do something from the animal kingdom. There's a lot of seaweed, so I could do the plant kingdom. There's mineral type stuff that I could look at close up, or maybe some type of relationships. So I'm gonna put the camera away and wander around and let my curiosity guide me. I found this piece of Turkish towel seaweed on the shore, and so what I'm gonna do now is just a really easy nature journaling practice called a I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. Got a basic drawing going on there, and I've got my I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of written down here. So I've got the word part of the I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, and then I've got a basic drawing. And one of the things that you should at least include is some type of zooming in on an object. Some people call this a blowout bubble or a blow up bubble. And here I have this piece of seaweed that I was looking at. I am going to add color to it. So I've been doing this for about, I would say give yourself about 20 minutes to do something like this, where you zoom in. Took about 20 minutes to do these landscapes up here. So I haven't even been here for an hour yet, and I already have this sense of the place, and I have a zoomed in object of interest. It's been about 20 minutes here, like I said, including the time that I spent to add a little bit of color to the page. And I added some of my writing, but I'll actually do a little bit more writing at home probably on this one. But now I'm ready to move on, and I actually have a treat for myself. So I have a little caffeinated coffee drink, and it's good to maybe bring something with you when you go on a curiosity wander. Once you get your momentum going and have gone through that first stage, maybe finished a page, give yourself a little reward. It's like training an animal. You can start training yourself and making going out nature journaling a habit. So I'm gonna drink that coffee now, and then I'm gonna get into more of this curiosity wonder. I haven't even been out here for an hour. Woo! And here's what I got so far, about 2.5 pages. The tide is coming up a little bit. I have to get out over there. I think there's still, I think it's still low enough for me to get out.
One of the benefits of nature journaling is the laser-like intensity that we can develop when we're focusing on something. The problem with this, however, is we might forget about our situational awareness. In this case, I almost forgot that the tide was coming up and I could get trapped at this beach. When you're doing a curiosity wander, make sure you're paying attention to the world around you and you are aware of the risks in your area. So don't get too focused. Tip number 12, don't put your journal away too soon. On my curiosity wander, my goal was to go to the beach and journal there. It would have been really easy in my mind to put my journal away as soon as I left the beach and to assume I was just hiking. A lot of times we find the coolest stuff on the hike back to the car. In this case, I saw a really cool spider that I was curious about. If I had put my journal away, I might not have sketched it. You now have 12 tips to help you next time you go nature journaling. But to make it a lucky 13, the last tip is to do a little bit of reflection at the end of your trip. I sat down for a few minutes and wrote these lines, reflecting on what I learned, what was challenging, some questions I had about my performance. Doing a little bit of this metacognitive work helps you learn faster and improve and get more out of your nature journaling. And that is the goal of this nature journal show, is to empower you to get more out of your nature journaling experience. I hope that you enjoyed this show, and be sure to tune in next week, next Wednesday at 6 p.m. when this show is uploaded.
And if you can't wait a whole week,
check out this video about landscape drawing if you want a little more information.